Lord, and bless it to the nourishment of our bodies. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Let's pledge. Salute to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. Is it the truth? First. First. Is it the truth? Second. Is it fair to all concerned? Third. Will it build goodwill and character? Fourth. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth. All right, I'm in a good mood today.
Thank you, Chris. As you sit down, don't forget the blue buckets for Alzheimer's research. And we had $9 last week. Anyone want to make a $9 match? All right, Jim, thank you. Jim, thank you. I don't see any visitors. Any prayer requests? All right, moving right along. I'm still looking for a sergeant at arms to replace Derek, so we need a volunteer to do maybe a few weeks in a row. Or I'll have to volunteer somebody. All right. Derek, you ready?
I had 2 last-minute ticket.
Okay.
I'm gonna mess up my numbers. So hold on just one second. Yeah, so there's no. Yes, the next speaker will be introduced in just a moment. We have $257 is the pot. You know, you have to draw the queen of diamonds for that.
Queen of Hearts.
Queen of Hearts, excuse me. Queen of Hearts, control that for us. Right there. That's just got no on. There's a front. I was worried I was going to win, but it's the ticket that was sold just before mine. Its last 3 digits is 649. Ah!
This is the first time I've ever bought a ticket. Yeah.
You just pick a card and see what you got. But $5 diamonds. It carries on. I owe you $10. I'll get you. Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Derek. Okay, there aren't any announcements. Aaron, want to introduce our guest?
So today I'd like to introduce Mary Charles Howard. Yes. So this is my first time meeting her as well, and she's here to talk about the Georgia Hilo trails. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everybody. I have 2 really good friends in the crowd. Angie and my sister lived together for about 4 years, so I told Angie not to talk any trash about me because it was during college, you know. And then Tom and I have known each other since I moved back to Sandersville 6 years ago, and I'm a landscape architect and always been passionate about trails and getting trails going in Washington County. And so Tom's been passionate about that too. And so we met here in Milledgeville for lunch, I think 6 years ago, and talked about potential trails in Washington County. So here I am, and I'll tell you what I have been up to since. So I'm talking to y'all today about the Georgia Hilo Trail, which is a nonprofit. We have a small board, and we are working to build a 211-mile trail to connect to the Firefly Trail, which connects to Athens and Union Point, total creating 250 miles of paved trail. This will be bicycle trail, walking, hiking. Most of the users who are going to do that whole distance of 250 miles from Athens to Savannah will be on bicycle. But this project is something that's a really big vision. I'm going to spend the rest of my life on it. I understand that. The Firefly Trail, which at the very top of the map, the Firefly Trail connects Athens to Union Point. That project has been underway for 15 years. It's not completely built, but they are paving what you call a model mile in each town. So small towns throughout the way, they've gotten a lot of Athens done, but little sections along the way. So inevitably it feels like it's going to connect, which it will. They are making a lot of really great progress and have gotten millions of dollars to get this thing done. So when I moved from Athens to Sandersville, my hometown, again, 6 years ago, I was still commuting to the engineering firm that I was working for in Athens from Worthen. So I tell people from Sandersville, but y'all know about Worthen. So I actually live in Worthen and commute from Worthen to Athens, and that was every day. And I would pass by Union Point a lot and think, gosh, that's really great that the Firefly Trail is there. But since I moved back to Washington County, there's just no recreation opportunities. The leadership still isn't investing in playgrounds. I mean, there's just no recreation. If you want to go ride your bike, you've either got to get on a paved road, which I won't do because I have young children and they need a mama. So I don't want to get hit. So I don't do paved road riding anymore. And I will go on some dirt roads, which is really fun, but you have to, in order to get from A to B, you have to get on paved roads. So decided that we should just continue the Firefly Trail from Union Point to my front door in Worthen. But while we're doing that, let's just go ahead and go to Savannah. Let's just go big or go home. So that's what the Georgia Hilo Trail is doing. So this is all a proposed trail. What we started doing, a few things we've already done while we're planning the trail is, the first step was to show the community that we are really out there doing things. So the first thing was the Kids Bike League. I had the idea that we should teach kids how to ride a bike. This was summer of 2019. I had just had a baby, so I had a baby in a backpack on me and went out and taught 50 kids how to ride a bike. Well, I thought that's what I was going to do. Turns out most of these kids already knew how to ride a bike. They just needed a bike and a place to ride. So that was an interesting, learn as you go situation. But that proved to me that this trail is really needed. There aren't the safe spaces these kids can go and recreate. So then their parents just don't let them. They just don't do anything. They just sit inside. So our plan is to keep the Kids Bike League going. We didn't do it last year because of COVID, but Tom and I were just scheming about some more things. And each community along the Georgia Hilo Trail path, I want to establish a Kids Bike League or a Youth Bike League or some sort of bike league to get our young people on bicycles in each community. Another thing that we've been up to already is the Athens to Savannah ride and tour. So the Athens to Savannah ride, I think this is probably where I want to show the video, Joe. This will explain better than I can explain. While he's getting it set up, I'll tell y'all the Athens to Savannah ride last year was a 2-day ride. We rode 101 miles the first day from Athens to Tennille. Second day was 135 miles on bicycle from Tennille to Savannah. This year, we're going to make it a 3-day ride because 135 miles is a little too much in one day. So we also did a video for the ride, which we'll show y'all. The ride is always going to be the Georgia bye weekend for football. So this year, it's October 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. So that's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can do one day or all three.
As I always say, small towns never hinder progress. It's small minds that help success.
The diversity in our city is on the trail. People are coming out of their homes and walking on this trail as families, and it seeks to strengthen your city.
I think that would be great for the kids to be able to get out of town, to take them on the road, out in the country, see different ways of life and different communities.
people used to leave the country to go to the city. Now the city is coming back to the country.
All right. So as you see, this ride is something that people get really passionate about. Last year when we did the ride, so the story of the Athens to Savannah ride is, this is the 20th year it's happened, but I'm 35 years old. So I did not start this, or else I would have been a really overachiever young person. So the guy who started the Athens to Savannah ride, his name was Ken Sherman, and his teacher buddy.
Hey, homeowners.
Have you heard of You probably just went to the next one on YouTube. So Ken Sherman, who started the ride, his teacher buddy said, listen, Ken, you've gained a little too much weight. And as a challenge, I think we should both ride our bikes together down to Savannah from Athens. So that's how it got started, was these two guys trying to lose some weight and challenging each other to see if they could do it. Well, people heard about it, and then each year more people asked if they could come along. So it grew to be 100 riders. And I was in college as this whole Athens to Savannah ride was going. I went to UGA, and I had always heard about it and always wanted to do it, but life got in the way, and I just never did this Athens to Savannah ride. Then when I started the Georgia Hilo Trail, I was talking with Elliot Caldwell, who runs Georgia Bikes, and I said, I really just need to get a good fundraiser ride together for this trail. It's epic. I want something super epic that people from all over the United States, and hopefully even from abroad, would come. I want to make this thing huge. And he said, well, that Athens to Savannah ride, Ken, unfortunately, he got leukemia. He's doing better now, but at the time he was too weak to do the ride anymore and to organize it. And so he was going to give it up. And I called him, told him about the trail. The ride closely follows where the proposed trail is supposed to go. And so I asked him, can I have your ride? And he, without a skip in a step, he said, sure. Here's 1,000 emails of the people who have been interested over the years. Here's the logo. Here's all the assets. Here's some jerseys and socks and everything. He just threw it at me. So, okay, well, that was summer 2019, and I had a baby the week it was supposed to happen. So we didn't do it in 2019. Last year was 2020. I thought it wasn't going to happen, but we ended up pulling it together. And we had 28 riders last year, and those 28 riders came because it seemed epic, not because they knew me, but because one guy came from Kansas. It just seemed like a really epic ride, which was my goal. And those 28 people came not knowing anything about the trail. And as they got to know me and I would talk about the trail, now they are the trail's biggest cheerleaders. And that's what we hope this year we've hired a company to help me run it. Because last year I had to paint every turn myself from Athens to Savannah. It took me 2 days, all from morning, sunrise to sunset. Now we've hired a company to grow this thing. So 28 riders this year, we're hoping 150 riders, and then we'll keep going so we can get it to really epic numbers that will raise the money we need to raise to build the trail. We raised $60,000 last year with 28 riders. So I think it has great potential. So what is the problem? Why would we have this trail? Well, as you guys know, in rural America, there is a lack of investment in pedestrian infrastructure. If you want to get from point A to point B, you got to get in your car. So this is a solution to that. All the time in Sandersville, I see the wheelchairs going down the 4-lane, and it just stops my heart. So our solution is to build this trail, but it's not just to build the trail. It's to connect our schools and to connect places of work so people could use this within the community. It's not just for people going from Athens to Savannah. It's for the communities that we're building it in. And like I said, model miles are the way that we're going to start this. So build 1 mile in each community so that community can start to use it and understand it and become passionate about it. That way you get more and more support, and also those model miles start to grow together from town to town. We have a great example of a model mile in Sandersville already. A lady I go to church with came up to me after church in October, and she said, I want you to use my property. It's perfect because it connects Sandersville and Tennille, and you can put your model mile on it. So we already have a piece of property that we don't have to purchase, or we will have to get an easement on, but it's things like that I'm hoping will happen more and more. This is what the trail will look like. So a concrete trail about 12 feet wide in the city. As you go more in the country, it can be skinnier, and it could be made out of asphalt. It just depends on what companies are gonna donate materials to have it built. But concrete is more substantial if you're getting grant money. Grants want to pay for new things, not to have to update. So concrete withstands the test of time. If asphalt gets broken, not many grants are going to pay to have it fixed. So concrete's usually the way to go. A big deal for this trail is that we aim to install fiber internet next to the trail so that as the trail is installed, we can bring internet to these rural places too. Now, I know that there, just in the past year, because of COVID, we've seen the need for internet connectivity in rural areas. There's been a huge boom of people bringing internet to our small communities. So I'm really excited about that. We're working on a comprehensive master plan for the trail to show exactly where it'll go. And with that plan, I'll be able to hand it to internet companies and say, where are the gaps? And where can you help us fill in these gaps? Now, this is the Rails to Trails opportunities. We have 2 Rails to Trails opportunities on the Georgia Hilo Trail we know of. One is from Tennell, downtown Tennell to downtown Wrightsville. It's the old Wiggle and Twist. It's a 17-mile rail owned by Norfolk Southern that hasn't been used in about 20 years, and it has pine trees the size of my leg growing up through it. So we have 2 volunteers in Sandersville. Joseph Sumner and Benji Tarbutton have volunteered to go up to Norfolk Southern headquarters in Atlanta and talk to them about acquiring this for us. But the rail doesn't end in Wrightsville, it goes to Dublin. So we're already working on spurs to connect into the Georgia Hilo Trail, which potentially could be Milledgeville, a spur from Dublin to Wrightsville to connect, because that same Rails to Trails opportunity, it's the same deal. It hasn't been used in 20 years. And while we're talking to them, we might as well ask for the whole Tennell to Dublin. The other one is in Effingham County Rails to Trail. They have a 26-mile corridor north to south in their county that they are so excited to have us, make a trail. And this is some before and after. I know it's hard to see from this far away, but before and after what that could look like. And while I'm talking about Rails to Trail, just a little side note, if anyone in here can help, Tom's probably the main one, but I just got hired by the Georgia DOT and Georgia Bikes as a landscape architect, because I have a private landscape architecture company too, to do a statewide Rails to Trail study. So active Rails to Trails projects that have happened, ones that are sort of in the works or proposed or have some traction, and then ones that are just sort of like duds and need a lot of help. So I'm putting that together, and it should be done by December of this year. So I know that there is a Rails to Trails here in Milledgeville. It's been talked about for a long time, and that will definitely be on the list. So what's next? This is what we're working on right now. The comprehensive master plan. Everybody who's excited about this trail says, okay, when are we going to make it happen? Can we please make it happen while my knees still work? I want to use this thing. Me too. I have terrible knees. My doctor's already told me in my lifespan, if I live to be 100 like my grandma is, I'm going to have 2 knee replacements on both knees if I live to be 100. So let's get this trail built quickly. This is what we need, a comprehensive master plan that will show us exactly where the trail will go, how much it'll cost, how long it'll take, these types of things. We are working with the PATH Foundation out of Atlanta to get this comprehensive master plan done. And right now I'm fundraising $120,000 from the 8 counties that our trail goes through. I've been to city council meetings and county commission meetings, and I think a TV show crew should follow me around for all these county commission and city council meetings. Those things are lively. I showed up at a protest and did not know there was going to be a protest at city council that day. That was like, somebody could have given me a heads up. So this is just to talk about a little bit more about what that comprehensive master plan will look like. We'll have a whole 8 county map, and then we'll give each county a working map that they can work on. These are the counties. So Greene County is at the top, then Hancock County, Washington, Johnson, Emmanuel, well, it's on here too. Oops, okay, sorry. Emmanuel, Bullock, Effingham, and Chatham counties. And I have fundraised about half of this, $120,000 that needs to be fundraised. And we've had a lot of success, when you look at these counties and the amounts that we're asking. So here's the amount breakdown. 15,000 from each county is what we need to total that 120 for the comprehensive master plan. And, Hancock County is one of the poorest counties in the state. And I thought that was going to be the big struggle. Well, Hancock County is the first county to be fully funded. We had a $10,000 private donor, and then the city gave $2,500 and the county gave $2,500. Washington County is coming in at a close second to be funded, and Chatham County and down in Savannah just voted to approve. And we have more success stories, but it has just been so exciting to go talk to these communities. And you think that the smaller communities with no budget would say, I don't know, it's a real stretch. Well, those are the ones that say we need this. We definitely need this. They see the economic development potential in the trail. And so this has been a really scary, in January, before I went to any meetings, this was a really scary thing to do. And now I feel like, you know, everybody wants this to happen. I haven't received a no yet. So let's just keep moving forward. And so that is the Georgia-Hilo Trail. I'll leave it there. If y'all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Yes, sir.
When you decided to do the ride, how did you decide what roads to go from?
Right. Well, so the Athens to Savannah ride, since it had already been happening for about 17 years before I took it over, the route was already established, but I ended up changing the route because it used to overnight in Louisville. So selfishly, I had to change the overnight from Jefferson County to Washington County to, you know, suit myself and how I wanted the trail to come through my front door. So I did have to change it a bit, but I have been organizing bike rides for about 10 years. I used to own a company in Athens where I would, this is so crazy, I would take people from farm to farm on their bicycles, and then at each farm we would go to, I would gather the food and then take it to a chef at the end of the ride, and he would prepare a farm source meal for our riders who had been riding all day. So I've been organizing bike events on the road for a while, and the trick is keep it to the smallest road you can find. Because I even learned a lesson this year. We had to go, well, I thought we had to go on Highway 15 from Sparta to Tennell. It was a nightmare. So this year we're not going to be doing that. This year from Sparta, we're going to go through Linton and then take the tiny roads down into Tennell. So it's been an adventure, but a lot of searching on maps late at night.
Pretty hilly area.
Yeah. Yeah, you know. That's why I just have to be really charming so that everybody on the ride doesn't hate me by the end of it. You just keep smiling, give them beer at the end. They really like beer. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your talk. My question has to do with providing bicycles for youth. And in my prior rodeo movies, we were what we call a bike club.
Oh.
And so we were working in some of the local public schools. And children, you know, like the bikes are like these tiny to good-sized bikes for the boys and the girls. And all this kind of thing. And Rotarians come together. And you know, I started building bikes, and you didn't need any, you know, you didn't have to have any tools, so that was cool.
Right.
So I was wondering how you might think about how building bike.
That would be great. Pilot Club in Sandersville just called me yesterday, and they want to donate helmets. But I'm just not sure if I know I don't have the capacity to do the league this year. There's too much on my plate. But I'm planning for next year. Like, where did the bikes come from? I know Pilot will provide helmets. Who are going to be my coaches? I'm looking at Tom. So, I mean, that's a piece of the pie that we have to figure out. And I would love to talk to you more about that. Yeah, all right.
How do you secure the land rights?
Oh, yeah, great question. So I'm married to an attorney who will not do any volunteer work for me. Joseph Sumner is our attorney on our board, and we talked about how that happens. Acquiring the land rights there's many different ways it'll go, and it depends on the property owner. So that's why we need the comprehensive master plan, is to know exactly whose property we're going through for the trail, so that we know which sort of situation it's going to be. I have been told by other trails, like the Firefly Trail, that you want to try to stay away from paying anyone for their land, because if you had a donation or an easement with most landowners, but then they heard that you paid for land, then they would come back to you and say, well, listen, I actually need to be paid. You know, so that's something that we're going to figure out as we go. But that's, again, why we partnered with the CAF Foundation on the comprehensive master plan. They also don't just leave you with the plan. They sit with you and help you figure out how to get it going. And they go to landowner meetings. And so, and CAF Foundation's built over 300 miles of trails in the past 30 years. So they're the people that know the answers. So that's my answer is, I'm just gonna have CAF Foundation come with me. Yes, sir.
So you're gonna go through Linton this time?
Yeah, the ride will go through Linton. Yep. And Linton's so beautiful. I really wanted to go through Linton last year, but last year the first day was 101 miles, and I felt like, I think people might not do the ride if I had made the ride longer, because going through Linton's going to make it longer. But those people last year, man, they killed it. Like, they went way faster than I thought. I was standing on the side of the road trying to slow them down because my people at the rest stops hadn't set up yet. They were coming to the rest stop before the rest stop was set up. So I asked those 28 people who are now our forever friends who did the ride last year, I said, would it be okay if this year the first day is 110 miles? Oh yeah, they said. So this year, the first day is 110 miles from Athens to Tynnell. Second day is 100 miles from Tynnell to Statesboro. We're going to overnight Statesboro. And then the third day will be 75 miles from Statesboro to Savannah. Yep.
How many rest stops do you have in between each leg?
It's about 30 miles. Mm-hmm.
You're gonna hit some hills around there.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, these people are pretty tough. One guy actually, it's such a passionate story, but there was a guy who at the end of the first day in Tynnell, some of the people, there's a liquor store right there next to the depot in Tynnell, and I did not provide alcohol because the city of Tynnell hadn't approved that, but they just went over and bought their own, and everybody's sitting around drinking beer, and this guy is sort of wobbling around, and I thought, good gracious. I mean, it's like 4 PM. You just rode 101 miles and you knock it off, man. But okay, so I thought, whatever. I had so many things to do, I didn't worry about it. And then at the end of the ride, a few days late after the ride, I emailed everybody and said, can you give me the good, the bad, the ugly of your experience? Because I need to know so I can improve on years to come. And he emailed me and said, it was a huge email. And he said, I actually have Parkinson's and I ride my bike to keep my brain and my body healthy because it's been proven that cycling fights off Parkinson's. And I thought, Mary Charles, I said to myself, you are a horrible person for judging him because he had not had anything to drink. And then he told me later he doesn't, actually I went up to him when I saw him wobbling and asked if he was okay. And I made a joke about alcohol and he said, I haven't had a drink in 12 years. And I thought he was a recovering alcoholic. That was my judgment. Turns out he has Parkinson's, and that's the reason. But so he told me a model for how to fundraise for the ride, and this might be something that Milledgeville Rotary is interested in that we're implementing because of his suggestion. So our riders last year could only fundraise for the Georgia Hilo Trail as they're riding. They would tell friends, hey, I'm riding, 100 or 200 some miles. Will you please support me? And then they have their own page and people can give them money. My son fundraised. My son did not do the whole ride, but he did a virtual thing. And so my son fundraised like $2,000 for it that way for the trail. But he said, I usually only fundraise for the Parkinson's organization that supports me. And I have about 50 cyclists all over the United States that would come and do this ride if we can fundraise for our organization through your ride. So I figured out the model. And now what we're going to do is use the Athens to Savannah ride for other organizations to fundraise under. So you choose your team. Do you want to fundraise for the Georgia Hilo Trail, or do you want to fundraise for this Parkinson's organization? Do you want to fundraise for Milledgeville Rotary? All of these things. So that's how we're going to expand it and get a lot more interest than just Mary Charles and her friends doing the ride. So, yep.
Do they still do the brand?
They do, yes. Yeah, they just had the spring tune-up last weekend. So,
when is that this year?
June, I think it's the first weekend in June. Yeah, so I try to stay away from Bragg's dates. I'm not competing.
I don't know where, I haven't looked to see what the route is this year. They change that route every year.
Yeah.
One that's interesting that my friends and I haven't done for a while because we're old, is Rag Ride, the ride across Iowa. And it's like 20,000 people. It's just a party on wheels.
Wow.
It's kind of an interesting thing.
Wow.
And they change the route every year. And it's a big deal when they make the announcement where the route is.
That would be really cool. Athens to Savannah, 20,000 people in 20 years. We'll aim for that. Wow. Great. Well, y'all, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
so much. It's a great presentation. Any other announcements? Okay, next week we have columnist Rick Milans.